Hello and welcome to the Venue Success Podcast. I am your host, Tirza Caffey, and our theme in season 2 is Tools of the Trade, the pros behind the process. And today I am joined by the lovely Sara Dunn of Sara Does SEO. Hello, Sara.
Hi, Tirza. So excited to be with you and your Venue Pros today.
Oh my gosh. Listen, when I was planning out this season, literally I jotted down 20 names that instantly came to my mind, and you were in the top 3. And we have run in the same circles for years, but haven't always been able to connect one-on-one. But I know we share a love for the wedding community, and I love your energy and your passion, and just your influence in the industry is so beautiful. And I'm so grateful for people like you. So I'm really delighted for the conversation that we're going to have today. But for all of our faithful listeners, you know what time it is. It is time for Crazy Stories with Tirza, because people have lost their minds. So today's story is a bit of a rant. Yesterday, this literally is real time happening in the last 24 hours. I was walking into my venue and there was an early tour. We don't normally do early morning tours. And so it was already to the end of the tour by the time I got to work. And thank the Lord, I don't physically have to do the tours at my venue anymore, which, hallelujah. So I have a director of sales, and she is fantastic. She's been with me for 7 years. And I opened the door into the kitchen of our historic home. So, this house is 120 years old. It's a cherished piece of Charlotte history, right? And I just hear children screaming, and I'm like, what is going on? And they're really small. You could tell, right? They're small children. And I hear my sales girl go, okay, well, I'm just going to give you a moment here, and I'm going to go upstairs, and you could think about, if you guys want to hold your date today or not. I'll be back. And I could just instantly hear the stress in her voice. And I'm like, I don't often do this, but I'm like, I had my bag and all of my stuff, but I just went straight in there. And I was like, well, hi, guys. And when I walked in, so this is a Victorian, beautiful, meticulous house, right? And our consultation room is beautiful with this cherry, wood table. And it's just beautiful, right? Great place for our sales meeting. And I look, and it looks like preschool lunch table, disgusting. And there was a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they just had greasy blueberry muffin or something, and it was just everywhere, and the room was trashed, and I was just like, what is going on? And they're just running around like someone had just given them Mountain Dew or something.
Or a blueberry muffin.
Well, come on, it's probably the same amount of sugar. I don't know. So I'm kind of just entertaining them for a little bit, because I know something must have happened. Well, what I realized later is that my sales girl had gone upstairs and literally collapsed on my couch in my office, because she was like, I'm undone. I cannot do this. And evidently these people, they brought their 2 and 3-year-old to, this is a really important decision that people are making, right? If you went to buy a car and you're dropping $20,000 or $30,000, would you bring your toddler when you're making that really big financial decision? But I guess it had been over an hour. They all throughout the tour, right? So we're bringing them into all the spaces. They were just running amok, and they were in the reception space, spinning around on the ground, on the dance floor, just going crazy. And it was over an hour of this. And so by the time I got there and I heard these kids screaming, she was just totally done. So she came down, and she was assuming that she was just going to bye. And they're like, we want to hold our date.
Wow.
So they were, at least we sold the wedding.
I guess so.
But it was so interesting. But what got me thinking about just sharing this story today is that we are truly seeing a trend of kind of non-parenting when it comes to these children. And I don't understand what is happening in the world with that. I'm sure there's some reason why in this generation those those parents were raised in such a way that they feel like they're not going to do that with their kids, but they're so unattached somehow. Like they don't even realize, I think, what their kids are doing. I don't think it's malicious or anything. I think they're just totally oblivious. Like the dad was sitting there just scrolling his phone, totally ignoring them. I thought, well, surely they're going to clean up after their kids when they leave or apologize or something. And they just signed their date, which at least they bought a wedding. Okay. Like at least they did that. And they just left it with this trail of like disaster behind them. But I think what it causes me when I think about like the crazy state of kids at weddings these days, we had one in the fall where there was probably 10 kids there. They were running around our meticulous gardens, pulling the plants out of the ground.
No.
Yeah, and the parents were just watching them laughing. And I'm like, what is happening? What is happening?
Don't you think that people probably don't realize that you consider venues a precious place? This is something you've poured your heart and soul into, and they just see it as a place, as a shell to have an event for people to do whatever they want. And they don't recognize, the table you've selected for the consultation room was a really special piece. Just not a lot of respect for the small business mindset and the way you've poured your heart into this space and the place.
It is so true. And I think what it has caused us to do, and I'm sure that venue owners that are listening, I guarantee people are like, I totally resonate with what you're saying with these kids because, they'll get into our pond and they're throwing rocks at each other and they're, jumping. Like, I'm just like, this is dangerous. Also, like, why are you allowing your children to play by this pond anyway? But I think it's made us extra vigilant about having extra staff at all of our events, making sure that these children are safe and putting things into our policies about, having to have adult supervision if there's children at events. But it didn't used to be this way. Like, my kids are a bit older, but I never would have allowed my kids to act that way. But it's just, unhinged, totally unhinged. But anyway, so the bottom line here, my friends, if we have any parents listening, I have 2 words of wisdom for you. Do better. Just do better. It's okay to keep your children a little bit more subdued or maybe just get a babysitter. So it's funny because we were talking about it as a team and like my sales girl was like traumatized about it for like half of the day. She was like, I'm done. I need to go home. Like she was so over it. And it just made us start thinking like, it is okay for us to require them to get a babysitter when they come back for some of their more important like wedding detail meetings. And we actually put it in her specific notes for the future. Like, hey, when she comes back for her final details meeting, like we're going to have to ask her to get a babysitter. And it feels
How are you
going
to phrase that? That seems very delicate. Please teach us. How you're going to ask that question.
Yes, we thought about it a lot. And I think this is not wordsmith yet, but basically we're going to say like this next meeting is really, really a fun time to plan all those beautiful details of your event. We really want you to have an enjoyable experience and we want you to be able to fully focus on dreaming about the details of your big day. And so we're going to ask that you find someone to keep the kiddos that day. We're going to celebrate with you, have some fun, but you're going to have the best experience for yourself if the kiddos aren't with you. So, and say something like they're precious. We love them.
Yeah, that's great wordsmithing. Definitely thinking about the advantage of your couple and what that brings to their experience and leading with that, I think makes sense.
Yeah, it is tricky. And, sometimes you might offend people just a little bit. But, at the end of the day, we want them to have a good experience. And we know that it's not best for them when their kids are pulling on them and screaming and all of the things.
Distracting them from the details they need to notice.
I mean, honestly, Sarah, can you imagine dropping that much money in a distracted state?
They probably live in a permanently distracted state. That is probably like normal operating procedure for them. They're like, okay, please, let's just make a choice and move on.
Well, and you probably hit the nail on the head right there because we are a fully all-inclusive venue. And I asked her when they held their data, it was like, why did you choose us? And she was like, well, because you're all-inclusive and I know you're the best in Charlotte. Well, of course, I like hearing that. But she's like, I don't have time for this. And so at least she knows her limits.
Well, and she said the right words. You're like, oh, yes, we are the best in Charlotte. We'll do whatever you need us to do.
Exactly. Thank you for your check. Have a good day. I don't mind wiping up the blueberry muffin. Anyway, okay. So that is Crazy Stories with Tirza.
It was so good.
We could reel on that for quite a while. But Sara, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Just a bit about you. I know that you were an SEO specialist, and I've said this to listeners before. Like, I remember years ago Googling what is SEO, right? And we've all been there. And I don't want listeners, as you're hearing today, to feel bad if that is the, if you're at 101 and you're like, what is SEO? We're going to talk about that today. And you're going to hopefully, through this whole series of this is tools of the trade, that we really want to be building that foundation for you to build that strong, thriving, long-lasting legacy venue, because there really are so many different pieces to this. So I know, Sara, you've worked with planners, venues, photographers, lots of professionals who really, ultimately, their goal is to get their websites ranking higher on the lovely Google. So tell us a little bit more about what got you into doing. I mean, where did Sara Does SEO birth? Like, I would love to hear a little bit of that story.
Yeah, so it was actually birthed as a secret side project. So
awesome.
I have operated a digital marketing agency for about 7 years, and I did all sorts of general digital marketing. Basically like, hey, are you a business who needs a website? Perfect. I am the person for you. So my company did a lot of web design, graphic design. We did ads. We did email marketing. We did social media. Basically, if a business needed marketing online, I was like, yes, let us do that for you. And I really started to kind of feel a pull in about 2017 to say, you know what? I can't be good at all of these things. If I'm doing so many different things, like I find them all really interesting. I really enjoy doing a variety of digital marketing, but I'm understanding that I'm not an expert in any of it. And I actually had a project at about this time with a wedding planner in Chicago. And it wasn't a website project. So this was very different for me. She came to me and she said, hey, I actually just had my website redesigned and it has totally tanked my Google rankings. So I used to rank on page 1 for Chicago wedding planner. And that's how a lot of my clients found me, because they would go online and they would just, Chicago wedding planner, best wedding planner in Chicago, something like that. And I would show up at the top of the results. And that's how a lot of clients found my business. And she said, I hired a fancy marketing agency. They redid my website. And now I'm on page 7 and those people can't find me anymore.
My gosh.
I said, let's fix this. I know SEO. It's one of the 1,000 things on my menu of services. And we worked together for about 6 months. Pretty intense work, fixing up her website, figuring out what had gone wrong, adding some more content. And we got her back to page 1 of Google. And she was so thrilled. She said, Sara, do you want to do more of this? Because I want to tell everyone about you, because we just don't have good help with SEO in the wedding industry. And so I was like, yes. I mean, it was probably my favorite project I'd ever done. And I said, I'd love to do this for more wedding professionals. So I started my secret side business called Sara Does SEO. I put up a separate website and I said, you know what? If this wedding SEO thing doesn't work out, I will just take this website down and go back to what I was doing before. But if it goes well, maybe this is my shift. Maybe this is my direction. And that's exactly what it's been. So I'm so blessed. I've gotten to specialize in wedding industry SEO for about 7 years now. And I really enjoy it. It's all I do anymore. And now I coach a team of 11 people, 3 of which are named Sara, which is really interesting.
Oh,
we're Sarahs who do SEO, but we've got quite a team and we do help wedding industry businesses get found in searches. And that's what we do.
I absolutely love that. And she was correct. I mean, and I really think it's really nice to have someone that's niched down in this industry, understanding the challenges that we have. And I know specifically with venues, oversaturation is a really big thing. And so I know that definitely makes this SEO thing all the more important for us. So we could talk about that, I'm sure, here in a little bit. But let's just go back to ground zero. And there's, again, no judgment here. What's SEO? Can you explain what SEO means and what does it do for a business? And before you answer that, I will tell you, when I first was learning about this, I had hired someone and he had told me, and this is where I just want to caution listeners, like, there you get what you pay for, right? And so I had hired someone and he's like, yeah, I could do that for you. Like it was a project with a beginning and an end. And I think that is the one thing that I just want to say that I learned from the very beginning. It's not a beginning and end thing. It's so much more than that. So that was the first thing that I learned years ago. But anyway, so tell us what SEO is and what it means and what it does for businesses.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this because there's a lot of shame around SEO when people are like, I don't really understand it, and they don't feel like they can ask. So let's start at those basics. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it basically means our ability as business owners to influence where a business shows up in search engine results. So when you type something into Google, there's a reason that certain businesses show up at the top of the list, or certain articles or certain links show up there. And it's because the search engine believes they're a great fit for what that person was looking for. Now, with search engine optimization, for a long time, we've mostly focused on Google. There's other search engines like Bing and Yahoo and DuckDuckGo. So those are more traditional style search engines where you type something into a box and then you get a list of blue links or a variety of different things to click on to figure out what answer you're looking for. As we enter into 2025, we are starting to see more searches done on AI tools. So people asking something like ChatGPT or Gemini to give them an answer. And that's just a new branch of SEO that really follows a lot of the same rules. So we're starting to talk more about search engine optimization for AI tools. But basically, I want everyone to think about it with the fact that people are looking for something. They turn to a tool or an engine and they type something in and they're looking for your business. I want you to show up at the top or get recommended in that list, and that's my job. So my job really is to understand what these tools are trained to look for so that we can make sure that your business and your website looks really appealing to that search engine. And, Google's like, yes, this is the venue that everyone should see if they're searching for this specific term. I want that to be you.
I love that. So, and this may be a little bit redundant, but I just want to hone in on this a little bit. So for venue owners, because that's most of our audience here, a lot of them I find are trying to do this on their own, right? And we know that owning a venue has some of the highest overhead, right? It's really hard, to invest in having someone help you to do this. So traditionally, people are like kind of starting out doing it on their own. I want you to explain to them why this is such an important part of these building blocks of their marketing plan.
Yeah. And I have to say, I have nothing against people doing it on their own. I think it's great to learn some basic SEO skills. Either, you can get your own website ranking higher, or enough to hire someone later and ask good questions. So I think it's fabulous to learn some things about SEO on your own. I think it's a really critical building block for a venue who wants more opportunity. So our venues are some of the businesses that I work with that book the most clients and couples. You need the most visibility every single year to fill so many spots in your calendar. And so SEO is one of your marketing options. Now, I don't think everyone has to do SEO. If you can fill your schedule and get as many bookings as you want in other ways, I think that's wonderful. But I think it's a really good possible thing to add as a marketing option. And what's really cool and different about SEO is that when you build up your authority with the search engines or with Google, you can actually get really long-term lasting exposure. And I do contrast it a lot with social media, where your content doesn't live for very long. You can create a really cool viral video on Instagram that 1 million people see, but it better pop off in that 1 week and get a lot of visibility, because then Instagram's going to move on to promoting something else. Whereas with SEO, if you build up the right foundation so that Google trusts your business and understands what you do, we have had clients rank for 3, 4, 5 years on the first page of Google from something we did several years ago. So it's one of the most long-lasting ways to market your business when you achieve success with it.
Yeah. Can we just rabbit trail for a little bit? And when we talk about where you're ranking up there compared to, like, if someone's like, well, yeah, I pay $500, $600, $700 a month for a Google ad. Yeah, I'm on top. Tell me the difference.
Yes, great question. So When I talk about SEO, I talk about what we call organic SEO, which basically means we get you into the search results without paying for it. It's through influence, it's through authority, and again, figuring out what Google's looking for. Google ads are great and can work too, but the difference is that you have to pay for them on an ongoing basis. You're paying for every single click. With SEO, you pay nothing for those clicks. When Google's showing you in the organic results or in the map results, those clicks are free. So being able to be at the top of the search results for something that's really relevant to what you offer or top of your area, that can get you a lot of free clicks to your website. So it's something that can pay off in the long term.
Yes. Thank you for kind of expressing that. That was, again, something that I learned in the very, very beginning.
Yes. And sometimes paid ads and SEO can be a great mix together because SEO is slow. So just to kind of talk how they work together, you pay for a Google ad and, if you set it up right, and I'm not an expert in this, but, you pay for a Google ad and you can get right to the first page of Google. So as you get started or maybe you're a newer business, that can be a great way to get instant visibility. And then you can pair that with SEO strategies so that you can move up in the organic results over time. And my goal would be you could eventually replace your paid Google ads with free exposure through SEO. So I think they can both happen at the same time. And I think they're both great things that have different benefits.
Absolutely. But, there's a point at which, depending on how many people have clicked on that ad, and if you're only spending $500 a month, that ad isn't promised to be up there forever.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love that explanation. So we talked about how a lot of these venue owners are trying to do some things on their own, and that is totally fine. So what would you say is a good step one for them as they're getting started?
Yes. So many venue owners come to me and they kind of have like a keyword in mind. So when I talk about keywords, I'm talking about those phrases that people type into a search engine. And normally we're thinking about a city or a location plus the word wedding venue. So Charlotte wedding venue or Florida wedding venue or Northern Virginia wedding venue. All of those are keywords, the types of things that people are typing into Google. And what's really interesting to me is sometimes venue owners come to me and they're like, Sara, I don't know why I'm not ranking higher for South Florida wedding venue. And I look at the homepage of their website and I realize they haven't used that phrase at all. So the starting point really is making sure that your most important keyword is used on the homepage of your website. And the reason for that is that Google doesn't understand what you do unless you tell it. So within the copy of your site, writing, we're a beautiful Southwest Florida wedding venue set on 20 acres of serene countryside, something like that. So you worked that keyword into a sentence, and a lot of people try to be a lot more flowery with their language. And they're like, we are a scene for celebrations throughout lives and milestones. And I think that's beautiful marketing copy. But if that's all you're saying, then Google goes, I don't know what this business does, or I'm not confident enough because there's other websites that are specifically saying Southwest Florida wedding venue. So we're going to show those higher because the confidence is higher that that's exactly what they offer. So step number one is using that most important keyword on the homepage of the website so that Google does understand where you're located and what you do.
So how do you decide, because I've heard some people say that there's tools that you could use to find what people in your area are actually the most common searches, and kind of do it the other way too. What do you think about that strategy?
We love it. I mean, we always do keyword research. I don't want to say that people have to subscribe to a tool or learn how to use a tool to do this. And that's why I try to explain it a little bit more simply if you're just like not a tool person. But what I teach in my courses and my students who are doing SEO, we use a tool called Ubersuggest, and that is a keyword research tool. Basically, you can go to this tool, ubersuggest.com, and you can type in what you think people are searching for. Maybe it's Southwest Florida wedding venue, and it will actually tell you a number called search volume. And that means the number of times every single month that people are typing that phrase into Google. It will also usually, if you're lucky, give you some related keyword ideas if it understands the area. So you might find out, okay, Yeah, there's 1,000 searches a month for Charlotte wedding venue, but there's actually also 100 searches a month for historic Charlotte wedding venue. And that one's more specific and easier to rank for. So maybe we should make sure to use that phrase on the homepage of the website as well and get a little boost for that more specific search. So for nerds like me, you can spend a lot of time in a keyword research tool going, ooh, this is interesting. And I always like to pull my favorite ideas into a note or a spreadsheet with some notes about how much they're searched, just so you have that information to reference later. So Uber Suggest should let you do at least one free search a day.
Interesting. Okay, that's an incredible tool. I have heard of that one. So here's a little fun thing. Tell me your thoughts about this. But there is a competitor of ours in the area, and they're using my venue as one of their keywords. So I'm just curious. First of all, can I just say people don't do that? But what are your thoughts about how venues can handle that if someone is strategically using their venue name in their keywords to help them rank higher? Because we have good visibility. So what are your thoughts about that?
Can you tell me a little bit more about how that manifests? Like, are they bidding on it with paid ads, or are they literally writing your venue's name on their website somewhere?
No, it's so I have to be very careful how I say how I came about this information, but that they're bidding on it.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, in other industries, this is a strategy. I'm trying to think of the search I did the other day. Oh, I think it was a search for Dubsado, and I saw that HoneyBook was bidding on the keyword Dubsado, and it was like Dubsado alternative. So it's a really common Google Ads strategy. I think in a small business context, I think that you're more likely to waste money because people might actually click on your website thinking they're going to the other business, and you can have a lot of confusion. But, not a Google Ads strategist. I will say that's not a strategy that really works with organic SEO because Google knows that people are searching for your brand, Tirza. And so what should show up on page one organically is your website, your listings, your Instagram account, your YouTube if you have one for the venue, those types of things. So it's not a strategy I've ever even tried organically or would recommend because it's not likely to work.
Yes, and I know this totally a rabbit trail, but we don't pay a ton, but we do a little bit of a Google ad, and it was related to that. And the person that helps me with my Google ad was like, you might want to have to spend a little bit more to outrank what he's doing to you. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I don't know. I really think that it's so important for us to, and I know that we could be cutthroat and businesses do that. Okay, so Dubsado and HoneyBook could have their little fight. But I think like for us as small businesses, I just don't think it's good for us to do that. Let me just say that. I would never do that to another business. It mostly just bummed me out. I mean, some people would say, well, what a compliment, like they feel threatened by you just a little bit.
But the bummer is that what you just said, you now have to pay money to advertise on your business name so that his website doesn't show up above yours when people are specifically looking for you. So now it's going to cost you money. Yes. That's what stinks about it.
All of this really, it can get a little bit convoluted. So I don't want us to get complicated. Let's just bring it back a little bit. But so when we're talking about SEO as it relates to website, and I know you hit on that a little bit, is it really like when you think about this holistically, and it's a piece of a pie, right? Would you think that website is the biggest piece of the pie, or how does that kind of correlate?
Yeah, so I think Tirza is kind of asking about ranking factors.
Yes,
so there's many things that go into Google deciding which business shows up first. So sometimes people are like, oh, I'm so frustrated. I've been working on my SEO. Like I've been following the best practices I've heard. I use keyword on my homepage. I put it in my SEO title. I'm still not ranking well enough. And often we discover that there are other things that other venues have that are ranking above them. So I would absolutely say yes, the website and what you say on your website has the biggest impact in how you rank. But if everybody in your market's doing a pretty good job optimizing their websites, then Google's like, okay, well, which of these businesses actually has the most authority? Which of these businesses has the most trust in the market? And they're not going to go out and survey your customers and say, hey, which venue in Charlotte do you like the best? Google uses clues that they can find online to try to understand which business is the most trusted, established, and authoritative. So a couple things are really important off of your own website. And the first is links to your website. So when other people are talking about you, mentioning you on their websites, and they're linking back to your site, that's a big deal for Google. Because if someone's willing to link to you, it must mean you're connected. You're a good business. They're basically willing to send their visitors to your site. So that means you have a lot of trust with this other person. So I tell venues, it's great to have free listings on any website that offers that. I'm not saying anyone should sign up for a paid listing just for a link. You can probably think of a lot of different venue listing sites, but don't forget that your local area may offer business listings through a chamber of commerce or a tourism bureau. We've had success for our venue clients looking for tourism or downtown business associations or something like that actually offer listings for free to local businesses for more visibility. On the local tourism bureau's website as a great destination for people visiting the area, that shows that you're well connected in your area and your city as well, which is also really important. So look for those opportunities to be mentioned for free. And then hopefully you're also getting mentioned in other articles. A lot of photographers right now are
just going to say that.
Yes, they're writing these roundup blog posts, and I contribute to this problem because I tell my photographer clients and students to do this. But if you've ever seen those blog posts that are like the 20 best Charlotte wedding venues, and then they show off their work and talk about each of the venues, it's a big deal to be included there and linked from those local vendors because, again, it shows that you are trusted and well respected in your market. So building those connections and getting mentioned in as many places as possible is really important to your SEO. And I mentioned there was one other thing, and that's reviews. And I think that's pretty easy to understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So specifically Google reviews, would you say?
Yes, though Google does look at your reviews on other websites as well.
Okay.
Sometimes we see your review count from the Knot is brought into your Google listing when people search for you, places like that. So don't discount reviews you get across the internet, but certainly your most impactful reviews for your ranking is your number of Google reviews and the quality of your rating.
Exactly. Yeah. We have in the last couple of years put a really huge effort into our Google reviews, and we've seen a great return on that. So I think we have close to 500 reviews we're getting there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very close. So that's really been super helpful for us. So what are some of those common mistakes? And we're all going to make them, right? And that's okay. There's no shame in that. But when you're working with people, what is that common mistake when they're trying to apply SEO to their businesses?
Yeah, so I think the number one mistake is what we just talked about, focusing too much on your own website and being like, I don't know why it's not working, and then not focusing on those factors outside of your own website. So usually when I coach students, I recommend let's go ahead and set up and optimize the main pages of your website. And then your job is to go get more links through more exposure, more connection. And your job is to publish new content to your website occasionally. Whether that's galleries, I love a blog. I know our venues don't love blogs, but I love a few strategic blog posts a year. So that's really the ongoing work. A lot of people get frustrated with SEO because they feel like they've done everything to their website that they're supposed to, and they're not seeing the results that they want. And so that's where we've got to go and build up those things off of our own websites. The other mistake that I see a lot is thinking too much about just one keyword, especially a really broad keyword in our venue clients. So again, the example I was using earlier, something broad, like just location plus wedding venue. If someone comes to me and they're like, I want to rank for Nashville wedding venue. Everyone wants to rank for Nashville wedding venue. Lots of venues who aren't in Nashville want to rank for Nashville wedding venue. And it's very competitive. Google also really likes to prioritize those listing sites for that kind of search, or those articles that list multiple venues. So there's usually only 2 to 3 spots organically for venues to get on page 1. So what we've been recommending a lot is shifting toward more descriptive and specific keywords. So finding those things people are searching for that are more specific than just the area. We talked about historic earlier. Outdoor is a great one. Barn or farm, modern, industrial. If someone is searching a little bit more specifically, it's probably easier for you to rank for because not as many people are competing for that keyword. And you know that the person searching for that is more likely to love what you have to offer. So someone could be searching for Florida wedding venue and they want a farm, and you have a downtown modern industrial venue and they'll never like it. So let's get in front of the people that we know will want what you have to offer. Even if those keywords are searched less, they will convert better. So that's the other mistake, thinking too broad and not thinking specific enough.
And I think I would just I talk to a lot of my clients about this too, is just understanding your market. Like, be a student of your people, because I mean, I'm in all of the Charlotte groups and I'm just silently watching. And I talked about this when I was speaking at the Wedding MBA, and I just popped up like all of these slides that were people saying, no barns, no barns, no barns. And then I popped up a picture of my venue that has a gigantic barn on it. And it's like, what do you do when you have we have oversaturation and all these people that are like, I don't want a barn, but I knew that our barn is different. They aren't against my barn. They're against like the rustic, and ours is modern and new and all of the things and all the amenities. And so I saw that people started like really leaning into nature and gardens. They wanted outdoor, they wanted beautiful gardens. And so I just made a very strategic decision to go through my website and remove a lot of the word barn and leaned hard into Charlotte's Secret Garden. And which just and again, not that they're searching for Charlotte's Secret Garden, but that was like kind of the vision that we're casting, that it's about nature. And we leaned hard into like we are a certified wildlife sanctuary now. And people love that kind of thing and writing articles about that. And so again, for me, it was like, I wouldn't have understood that my local demographic was like looking for that if I wasn't in there watching myself. Like, yeah, I could get a tool and see what people are searching for. But when we started, it was about 2.5 years ago, leaning into the garden theme, it actually did wonders for us.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, we've actually seen a growing trend of searching for garden wedding venues. And the other one that has really worked well for several clients is forest wedding venue.
Yes. So, yep.
I've got a barn client in the northern Midwest, and we used to do like all barn. And then we saw all these people looking for forest wedding venues, and they have a forest ceremony site that we really hadn't given much love to, really didn't have a lot of marketing presence on their website. And so we did a page on the website dedicated to the forest ceremony site, optimized it for forest wedding venue in their location.
Yep.
And it has brought in some really specific traffic, people that want exactly that forest look for their ceremony. And they wouldn't have captured those people without talking about that specifically on the website and emphasizing it a lot.
Yeah. So be a student of your area. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be out there marketing yourself and being annoying in all these groups. You could just be silently observing what your people are looking for. So I don't know. It's really been great for us. But so, I know that this is like an ever evolving, changing really fast, right? You even look at what's happening with TikTok. Is it there? It's gone. I don't know. It's like you feel like these things are coming in and out and things change so fast. So are there any outdated strategies that you would say, like, these aren't things that you should waste your time on anymore? You shouldn't worry about. Like, what are you seeing happening?
Yeah. So 2 things. And first of all, I want to say that Google does change things a little bit every day. And that makes a lot of people scared of SEO because they're like, I can't keep up. This is not my full-time job. I want you to know, even though Google's tweaking the search results all the time, what we need to do for SEO doesn't change that much. So pretty much everything that I taught for SEO when I started my course in 2019 is basically the process I still teach now. We're not doing things totally different than we used to. We see trends come and go, but we can discover those keyword trends and then we target them in the same way we always have, usually through specific content that matches what that keyword is. So don't feel like you can't do SEO because you don't want to keep up with it full time. Now, there's a couple things that I think are not great advice that SEO of the past maybe emphasized more. And the first is really endless repetition of the same keyword in your copy. So years and years ago, it actually helped if you would say Charlotte wedding venue, Charlotte wedding venue, Charlotte wedding venue all over your homepage multiple times in kind of like a weird and obtrusive kind of way. And so people still come to me and they're like, I don't want you to SEO my copy because I don't want it to sound robotic. I'm like, we don't have to do that anymore. Google now understands synonyms so much better. So we're going to say Charlotte wedding venue once, but then we might mention, event venue or venue in Charlotte or something like that that feels more natural. We're not just repeating the same keyword over and over again. And so I want everyone listening to know you're not going to win with SEO by being the person who says the same phrase the most within one page. And it does start feeling kind of weird about like the second time you've done it. So be careful about that. It's not required. The second thing that's becoming a little bit outdated or something that we're doing less in our SEO practice is blogging real wedding stories. This is throughout all of our clients, photographers, venues, planners. They're just not ranking as well as they used to or bringing in traffic like they used to. And so we're de-emphasizing the work that it takes to tell a couple story on the blog. Now, I still think that that's wonderful to have a few of those on your website so that people can see a wedding day start to finish. The getting ready spaces, your ceremony spaces, talk about why the couple chose your venue. But when I tell venues that they need to blog, they think that I'm telling them they have to write a real wedding story about every couple who gets married at their venue. And I'm like, that's not it. I want you to do more educational type pieces about your area specifically. So what's the best season to get married in North Carolina? What's the busiest wedding month in North Carolina? Maybe in some areas of the country, winter weddings are a big topic. Do you have any tips for winter weddings in your area? So we're going more in our time, being spent creating content, we're shifting toward these more educational pieces that are very location specific. And we're not doing a lot of real weddings anymore. Does that make sense?
It does. And that's really interesting because I remember very specifically that's where it was at for everyone was these real weddings. And when you're doing like for us, we have 120 a year. I mean,
it's too much.
It's just too much. It definitely, yeah. We haven't done that in quite some time on our website specifically, but it's good to hear that we just haven't done it because we don't have time. But it's good to know that's okay.
Don't bother. Maybe 2 a year of your most beautiful weddings or most ideal couples, and that will keep it fresh and show people how the latest trends are being used in your space.
Right. So can we talk a little bit about, just really quickly, because I know we're coming to the end of our time, but broken links on your website, and how often should someone be going in and kind of doing an inventory on their website and making sure that everything is functioning well? Because things happen.
Yes. Oh, I love this question. Okay, so broken links on a website are when you're linking to something within your own site that for some reason doesn't exist anymore. So, let's say, you were linking to some other vendor who did the photography for a wedding and they're not in business anymore. If their website no longer exists, then that link on your website is a broken link. Google doesn't love websites that are full of broken links because they look outdated and unmaintained and because it's not a good visitor experience. How frustrating is it when you visit a website and you're like, yes, let me check this out. And then it goes 404 page not found. So we want to clean those up as much as possible. There's a tool that I like called brokenlinkcheck.com, totally free. You don't have to download anything. You just put in your own URL in that bar, and that scans your whole website and tells you where your broken links are. And I think once a year, it's great to do this, maybe twice a year as just like a website refresh step, but run your site through there. And then the way to fix it is either find the updated version of that URL. Maybe somebody moved it on their website. So you can find the updated page. Maybe that business is no longer in business, so just remove the link. You can keep that photo credit, for example, but you don't have to link to a website that doesn't exist anymore. Or you can just remove that phrase entirely, and that fixes the link because the link's not there anymore. So update, remove, or remove the whole phrase, and all of those things will fix the fact that the link is broken.
Awesome. Oh, there's so many things I want to ask you. I'm going to end with this one question. So I have a lot of people ask me, and of course, I don't advise on this, so I will always refer people to the professionals. But there's a lot of conversation about And again, back to venue owners that are doing things for the most part themselves, even building their websites themselves and doing it in Wix and using more like user-friendly platform. What would you say about the platform that someone is using to build their website on? And if there's any cautions or advice that you would give to someone about the best platform to use when it relates to SEO?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked this. This is one of the most common things people comment, when they're asking me questions. Hey, Sarah, I want to design a new website. What platform do you recommend I use for the best SEO? And my answer is don't choose your website platform based on SEO. I think the biggest mistake that you can make is someone tells you X platform is best for SEO. So you're like, well, I'm going to use that. And I've seen this happen to people where they're like, Sarah, someone told me WordPress was the best. So I had a WordPress site designed and I don't understand how to update it. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not intuitive. I hate it. Can you fix it for me? And I'm like, oh, I wish you wouldn't have chosen a platform that you don't like because all of them can rank. We take clients on WordPress, Showit, Squarespace, and Wix. All of those platforms can rank on Google. They all have the features and the tools and the bits that we need from an SEO perspective. And they're all managed just a little bit differently. I really think that a small business owner should choose the platform that makes the most sense in their mind. When you go in to edit your own website, do you know how to get to the page, update the text, drag the photos around how you want them? What makes sense to you? So what I would recommend for venue pros is to do test trials of the different platforms. If you're going to switch or you're making a website for the first time, try out Squarespace and Wix and maybe Showit if you're really design focused, or maybe look at a template on WordPress, but most people don't like WordPress very much. So try out the different options and see what makes sense to you, because the most important thing is that you keep your website updated and fresh. It's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run if you've got to pay someone else to go change one word every time you feel like it. So that would be my answer, is a non-answer, and that they all can rank just fine.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I do think in general, and this is kind of like a broad statement, but a lot of venue owners tend to be a little bit older and a little bit like, I don't know if you've experienced this. There is a new wave of younger venue owners coming in, but some of this older generation really struggles opening up a WordPress website. It's like looking at code and you're like, oh my goodness, I have no idea what this is. And so I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was hoping that you would say.
Yes. And I will say, if people are like, I don't even know what to try, I personally think Squarespace and Wix are the easiest and most intuitive to just open up and figure out how to change the words on the page or replace an image. So I would definitely start there and see if one of those makes sense to you.
Awesome. I love that. Let's just kind of tie a bow on today by, I know for sure that there's a lot of people listening saying, oh my goodness, Sarah, how do I get on your calendar? Please help me. I need you. So what is it specifically like when you kind of onboard someone or even choose to work with someone? Is there kind of a grid, like say I came to you, but you're already working in Charlotte, like just as an example? Do you have some type of parameters in terms of like how many venues you'll work with in a certain area? So answer that, like how can a venue work with you? And then how do they kind of take the next step to getting on your calendar to see if you would be a good fit for them?
Yeah, so I totally appreciate that exclusivity question. And I know that a lot of SEOs or marketing agencies, they do limit the number of businesses they work with. We do not, because we do SEO setups. And I believe there's a lot of factors that go into rankings that are outside of our control. So some of that, getting reviews, getting more links out there, that is a lot of what's on the business owner's plate. We are going to set up the SEO for each of our clients to the best of our abilities. And we never use data from one client to benefit another client. We always start from scratch. So we're not going into anyone else's project to take information. If we're working with a venue in the same market, we would never do that. We're always starting from scratch with our process. So we don't have any exclusivity rules. We do have a couple different ways that we work with our clients. I do have an SEO course. So for anyone who's like, I just want to implement the basics and get this going, I'm not ready to invest in someone to do this for me. The course is called Wedding SEO Bootcamp. It is 100% wedding industry focused. to help you figure out what people in your market are searching for, and then how to set up your website so that Google will like it. I will also point out in module 3 of that program, there's a special lesson called Blogging for Venues, where I talk about the topics that really work for venues. It's so specific because don't forget, I mean, you guys all know this, that you're usually booked first in the process. And one big mistake venues make is they're writing blog content that is so far down the funnel and down the planning process that they're wasting time. So I don't want you to write about 5 ideas for your escort cards. That decision is being made way after they've booked their venue. So I have a whole lesson on what venues should blog about to get in front of couples at the start of their planning process. So that's a really special part of the program. If you're like, I don't got time, I have no interest, we do have a service called the SEO Fix. It is a 7-day SEO setup service to do the most important pieces of SEO. So that keyword research where we figure out what people are looking for, we weave the keywords into the website where Google is looking for them, and then make sure the site doesn't have any technical issues. So things like that broken link check, and running just kind of a few more technical checks through our SEO tools. That's all included in the one-time setup cost for the SEO Fix. So those are our most popular offers and the way that we love working with wedding businesses.
That's awesome. So do you do anything beyond that? Like what would be kind of like that more concierge high level, like someone's like, I'm all in, Sara, I want you every month for all time. Like, do you do anything like that, like a monthly long-term relationship with people?
Yeah, we take on very select ongoing clients. And so usually only a handful every single year. We usually do a custom proposal for those based on what the client is looking for, how much opportunity we see, how much blog content we want to write for them. So that is definitely an option if anyone wants to reach out about that and go a little bit more in depth and really go all in.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that, because I know that there's people at all ages and stages in this process. So today has been so informative and I am so grateful. I know we could just be here for hours and hours. The other thing I wanted you to share about before we close is about your lunch and learns. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you just want to like dip a toe in, I do a free monthly SEO lunch and learn. It is 30 minutes during lunchtime, Eastern time. And I just teach something simple and actionable about SEO. So I've done sessions on optimizing images. I've done sections on keyword selection. So something small, just come hang out with me in a big group of wedding pros. I do that once a month and you can kind of get the feel for if SEO might make sense for you and just a feel for learning SEO. And if you like it, I think that's a great way to dip a toe in.
Absolutely. So as you are listening, of course, please go check out our show notes. I'm going to have links to all of her website, her social media, and just definitely follow along with her. And I'm just so incredibly grateful for you. And I think one of the things that's so special about the wedding industry is that there's so many educators that are out there giving free, actionable advice. And I can say this for both of us with confidence, we love seeing you as venue owners, as wedding pros, be successful. Like,
yes.
Right. What's the quote? A rising tide raises all boats, right? And we want that for you. We want to see you do well, be successful. And we do know that this is a very competitive market that we are in. And I will just say, of all of the things to not be lazy about, this is one that you really, really need to take seriously if you want to be successful. Those first 5 years of building that venue and building that reputation are vulnerable, scary times. You're going to make or break in that period. And so put efforts into this. It's really, really important. And we want to see you be successful. So be sure, if you enjoyed today's show, be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to go over there and follow Sara at Sara Does SEO. But until next time, venue owners, I am cheering for you. I am so excited for just hearing the stories of your success. And that is what it's all about. So I wish you the best. Until next time, we'll see you around. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.